Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades, and welcome back, and long time no see or no speaking because I've been busy. I've been busy doing my thing, but you know what we're back for. You honestly must know what we're back for. We are back for the Love is Blind UK. We are now into season 2, coming up to episode 1. And yes, I didn't say I was going to speak about it, but of course you should have known I was going to come back with a bang to do this one. Like, seriously, come on now, it's on homebred turf. I am going to talk about Love is Blind the UK season 2. I also know that The Perfect Match is now showing on Netflix. I don't know whether to do it or not because we kind of already know the end outcome, especially for Ali and, you know, AD. So it's kind of like all we wanted to do is just see how they came together, but I'll decide whether I do that one or not. Anyway, before we get into this episode, this new season of Love is Blind UK, I always ask, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so you know when I do videos. Please comment, like, share and do the good things that you do, because I continue to be on the road to 1k if I can get there. Anyway, so people, as I've already said, we are back. I do sometimes always wonder why people put themselves through this, like, seriously, because I know the dating scene, yeah, it's piss poor. The dating pool is crap. It's a bag of shit at the end of the day. But I don't know personally if I could go on live TV and let people judge me for what they perceive me to be at the end of the day, because we don't know these people and they essentially wouldn't know me and what I'm like at the end of the day. But I think it's part of their personalities that come out in real life. That's where the judging and the talking and all those expressiveness comes from. It's looking at their personalities as you go through the process of this dating show at the end of the day. Because when people get on TV, I think they forget that the cameras are there, because they literally have no behavior whatsoever. So it's the same hosts, the 30 singles. We see Matt and Emma Willis introducing it, and they're talking about, is love truly blind? No, I don't think it is. I really don't think it is, because if people really thought that love was truly blind, then it wouldn't matter what the fuck that these people did, they would go get married to them. But love is not truly blind, because at the end of the day, after they've gone through that blind audition of, like, you know, the dates and this, that and the other, and they get to meet each other, and once they're engaged, and then they go through the process of getting to know each other, living together, all of that, yada yada yada, all those certain different aspects of that person that you didn't necessarily meet in the past is going to come out. So that is going to infiltrate your decision making. So is love truly blind then? Because I would say it is not at the end of the day. So we see that Amy, who is a primary school teacher, she talks first in the women's quarter in terms of why she wanted to come to Love is Blind, and then you see another young girl called Katisha basically saying that she doesn't want to be judged by her looks. You hear from a guy called Demola in the guys' quarters, and he's talking about wanting to find his perfect soulmate basically. And I'm just like, all these airy fairy words are true, and I'm a total pessimist at the moment, but all these airy fairy words are true and all well and good at the end of the day, but because no one's really going to show their face in the pods, and when they do show their face, these people seem to give those types of people a lot of grace. They don't necessarily dig that little bit deeper. They don't necessarily ask the right questions that you should be asking, especially when you're wanting to look for a life partner, and also being honest with what you will accept and what you don't accept. And also in terms of, if you're really connecting with the person but then something comes up that may change your view of them or may infiltrate your decision making and regarding them, then you should be honest with that person at the end of the day. Don't lead them on a merry dance. And I find people tend to do that too much times in these Love is Blinds, lead them on a merry freaking dance, because there's some people there that are just, like, you know, totally arrogant and think, you know, like they're the bee's knees at the end of the day. So my thing is I want to see if people, when they're putting out what they're putting out about themselves or wanting people to know the essence of them, will they stay true to who they were in the pods, or will they change when they get out? Because you know what, you've made it past the hardest bit, and I honestly do believe that the hardest bit is actually the dating process within this show. So now it's time to date. So we see Ashley and Charlie, they have a quick chat. We know Ashley is young too. I think she's about 28 or 29, I think she said she was. She'd been single for 4.5 years, and that was down to her job, basically, because she is cabin crew, and she says that her job can cause an issue, especially in terms of the amount of times that she has to be out of the country for in regards to her job. So it doesn't necessarily lend itself to actually building that type of communication, that type of trust, you know, the building blocks that you would need at the beginning of a relationship to take it to full fruition in order to get married. And that's part of the reason why she's here, because she wants to connect with somebody, she really does, but it's just how far she can take it, especially when she gets to the real world and she has to go back to her job, because at the end of the day, more often than not, she's going to be out of the country. She really is going to be out of the country. So you see Ashley and Billy meet. So Billy's talking about himself a little bit, and he talks about the fact that he is a bit of an army man and he is used to traveling around. So I thought, okay, so they can make a connection in regards to the fact that, you know, when he goes on tours, he's going to be away a month at times, but then when he comes back, is Ashley going to be there in order to, I don't know, pick up pieces or be there for him in that sense, especially when her job is going to take her here, there and everywhere? Will it be a match made in heaven for those two at the end of the day? So they do have that in common in terms of they've both been to the army cadets, and the fact that they have to travel for their work in that sense. They're getting to know each other a bit better. First initial impressions of their date, I must say, it was good. It was good, actually. They seem to be really connecting and getting on well. So Ashley is talking about how the past relationships that she had basically knocked her confidence, and she basically lost a little bit of trust in men. Now she's got an idea of who she wants and what her whole remit, her man, or whatever you want to do, her husband should be looking like. So Billy basically talked about the fact that he was married 5 years ago. Both of him and his ex-wife were in the army and they fell in love. It just didn't kind of work out for them in that sense, but he's saying that if he wants to do it a second time in terms of getting married, it's for life for him. He doesn't want to have to go through that process of divorce at the end of the day. I'm gonna say they're both saying the right things to each other, and it does look like early on that they connected, like boom wham, they definitely connected with each other. Billy seems to have the right outlook, but we will see as time goes on, because you know this shit changes on the spur of the freaking moment at the end of the day. So then we meet Sophie, and I always like to give people like a chance, benefit of the doubt and stuff like that, but when it hits you wham bam straight away that you kind of don't like a person, not that she's done anything wrong at this moment in time, is all I'm going to say. I suppose it's just more of her presentation in terms of how she talks about things or talks to people, and how she, like, you know, interacts with people is a bit of an issue for me at the end of the day. I already don't necessarily like how she goes about stuff. That's all I'm going to say at the moment. To me, she's got an air of, she thinks she's too good for this. That's the air that's coming off. And again, these are just opinions, yeah, face value opinions. I don't know these people from Adam at the end of the day, so I ain't gonna sit there and say I really don't like this girl. It's just literally the air that she's giving off to me at this moment in time on initial impression. Okay, so she's sitting there with her dates and she's treating it like an interview, which is wrong go about the first instance. At the end of the day, never treat a date or when you get to know someone like a freaking interview, because it doesn't come off well to the other person or to the people watching it at the end of the day. So she's asking these dudes that she really likes dad jokes, so she likes to be able to laugh. So she got 2 dad jokes, yeah, and I must say that they were funny, because I have to admit I laughed. I actually did laugh, because I thought they were quite gigglerific at the end of the day. This girl just fixed her face as if to say, yeah, no. My first thought was, this girl is going to be too much hard work. Sophie is going to be too much hard work, and I don't think anybody's got time for that at the end of the day. She's not coming across great on screen at the end of the day. So it's when she had a date with Jordan, And basically she was saying she wants a man to at least to be able to have his own place, this, that and the other. Because then they started talking about like who they live with, and she says like, you know, she lives on her own, she's got her own place, yada yada yada. Jordan lived with his mum. I was like, yeah, that's not gonna cut it at the end of the day. But I would say I don't necessarily have an issue with a person living with their mother, because it does depend on the circumstances of that. But the issue that I probably would have is, does your mother do everything for you? That will be the problem. Does she do everything for you that, you know, you should be doing yourself as a grown-ass man at the end of the day? And will there be issues if another woman was to come in that environment? Would his mother like that or not? Those are the certain issues that will start playing out. So I would say for Sophie, at least she's very much aware of why she's single, and she says the issue lays with herself. She basically says that she is a hopeless romantic, but she is the type of person where she literally does find it hard to open up. She literally will cut herself off in that sense. So her and Kieran do meet, and they do seem to get on. And Sophie is basically like one of five, and the rest of them are all brothers. They're all male. So at the end of the day, she is going to be the protected sister. You know what I mean? She is going to be treated like the princess or the queen that, you know, they believe that she is, which is how it's coming across to me. So Kieran basically talked about the fact that he was in this 7-year relationship and that it ended about a year ago. They both talk about how they want to be obsessed with somebody. And I'm gonna have to say, when someone says that, it gives me a bit of wariness, because I would not like nobody to be obsessed, that much obsession over me, because when years break up, it doesn't go very well, especially if the person you broke up with has a certain type of obsession about you and wants to be around you 24/7. That shit needs to have a place to go. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't disappear. That's why I tend to get a little bit wary when people say, I want someone to be obsessed over me, or I want to be obsessed over somebody else, because I really don't see how that works. I really don't. So Sophie starts talking about, like, you know, red flags, and she depicts herself as a well-rounded individual. I ain't gonna say much about that. She does tell Kieran about the fact that she doesn't like to let people in easily, and I just kept, every time she kept talking, I was kind of like, who hurt this girl? Like, seriously, who hurt this girl? Because she has a hard outer shell, like proper hard outer shell. And I'm gonna be honest, where I said I ain't seen no softer in the bit either. I have not at all. I hope she changes my opinion, but we shall see, because Kieran thinks she's amazing at the end of the day. So Sophie comes out of that date believing that she's dated her husband, and I was like, this girl is running a race. She is not going slow at all. She's there to bag herself a husband. At least she's come there with that goal in mind. Do you know what I mean? Because some people come on this bloody show and don't even have that goal in mind. They're just there to literally take space away from somebody else. So Kieran has basically said that he's been single for the past year when he's talking to the cameras, and he has been definitely active on dating apps. I don't necessarily know if that would be an issue in this environment, because my spidey senses are kind of tingling, because I'm questioning, well, what is it that Kieran is looking for at the end of the day? Because if you've been fully actively on dating apps, yeah, or actively dating via the dating apps, you know it's absolutely diabolically shit on those things, but you're still going to do it anyway for the past year. What expectations do you have in terms of looking for somebody to marry? What is it that you're looking for at the end of the day? Or are you going to rush into it like you normally rush into it when you're on these dating apps? Because once you meet someone off a dating app, it's like the speed of motherfucking light, let me just put it that way. It ain't great to foster good relationships, to be honest with you, on them things, because as with Love is Blind, people tend to only give you a snippet of what it is that they want you to see about themselves. It's only when you start to pick that person to go further within the show, unless you're a bloody good actor, is when the realness of that person starts to come out. So Kieran meets Megan, and my first thought was, I bet there is going to be a triangle here somewhere. That was my first thoughts. That's all I'm gonna say. So Megan talks about that, you know, she's a professional dancer, and Kieran is basically bigging himself up, saying he's got the old swivel hips. My man looked like he had two left feet. I ain't even gonna lie. So they seem to be full on attracted to each other from jump. That's all I'm gonna say. It was a completely different scope to Kieran's date with Sophie. So I thought Kieran and Megan connected more than Sophie and Kieran did at the end of the day. So I do like Megan. I do. There was definitely, as I said, that instant click between the both of them. So then, as I've always said within these shows, don't go back and chat your business in the women's quarters. Yes, you want to be able to relieve yourself of the date that you just had, especially if it's a good one and you want to do it with the girlies that you're connecting with in the women's quarters. But don't say the person's name. You don't have to say the person's name, because you know that there's going to be a crossover with every other gal or every other man in there, that, you know, they're dating a plethora of people, and there could be a potential that, you know, the person that you're dating likes someone else and is dating someone else too, and this is how you get yourself stuck in that freaking wire. Do you know what I mean? So Megan is there chatting to Anu about her date with Kieran and how they clicked. Yeah. And Sophie be listening, like her ears perked all the way up. She heard, she was listening, especially when Kieran's name was mentioned. And this is why I said you need to keep the names out. Keep the names out your mouth. Stop it, because this is where the competition hots up for real. So you could see the competition, the light just lit in the back of Sophie, basically, because I think she is one of those girls that, you know, she sets out to win. Anything she puts her mind to that she wants, it's hers, basically, and she ain't prepared to share anything with anybody. And that's what she said. She don't like to share. She found it hard listening to Megan basically talking about Kieran, because she knew Kieran was dating somebody else. She didn't like it. Her key words, she don't like to share. But my thinking is, do you know what type of show you're on? I mean, because right now it's going to be about the art of sharing. It's going to be about you literally selling your personality to win out from the person that may well be chatting to the man that you want, or may well be chatting to the girl that you want. Yeah. So if you're not willing to do that, then you've come on the wrong show completely. So then we see Patrick. What can I say about Patrick? He says he's very much a spiritual person. He is a tall, dark-skinned black man, very gorgeous looking black man with a lot of tattoos all over him. And Patrick likes to talk about this splenic awareness. So this splenic awareness, really, as part of his spirituality, is, you know, when people say, like, I follow my gut, I have this gut instinct. No, he follows his spleen. He has his instinct is in his spleen. I don't know if it's for real or if he's just trying something different just for the masses. I don't know, but all I'm saying is at this point it's weird as hell. Stop saying that shit. So Anu and Patrick meet. So Patrick talks more about his splenic awareness to Anu. The one thing, yeah, that I will say about Patrick, especially when it comes to Anu asking him direct questions, like, for example, he's of a very spiritual background, and Anu comes from a very Christian-led background, basically, in terms of when she wakes up, she prays, she goes to church, she prays with her family, things like that. Very Christian background and practices. So she wanted to know how that would fit in with Patrick's scope around his own spirituality. My thing is in a roundabout way, this dude decided to tell her this story that, you know what, he grew up as a Catholic and all of what that entailed. And I would kind of think that Christendom and Catholicism is completely two different things. Okay, they practice completely two different things at the end of the day, although they may follow the same Bible. That's all I'm going to say. But for me, Patrick does not answer a straight question. Like, he honestly does not answer a straight question. I didn't get from him in one iota how her being Christian is going to fit in with his lifestyle as being a spiritual. Not one bit did I get from that man. I'm still waiting for the answer at the end of the day. But you could tell that Anu likes Patrick and Patrick liked Anu. So we get to meet Sarova, who is a lovely Indian girl. And basically she's saying she's only dated Indian boys basically, but she's there to, like, you know, meet new people. So Sarova and Cal meet, and I clocked it from the get-go that I thought Cal looked Indian too. So he talked about how he dated a girl in Dubai and basically asked her to be his girlfriend, and it kind of fell apart. But he doesn't expressly express why that shit fell apart, you know what I mean? Because that would be the question that I had. But did Sarava ask that question? No. No, she did not. I think at the moment it's kind of like skating on face value in terms of what the people are saying to each other. They're not digging that much deeper. So I'm hoping that comes as time goes on. So he's basically saying that the next person he meets, he wants them to be his wife. So basically he's seen a lot of other people within his family now in marriages being quite happy with each other, and he wants it for himself. So he basically talks about how he's a little bit of old school and wants to be a provider, but does see the appeal of Sarova because he believes that she would be a force to be reckoned with. Something tells me that this is a man that likes traditional values when it comes to marriage and what that entails at the end of the day. I don't think he can necessarily cope with new aged women, but as I said, this is just my thoughts, people. But that's why I'm thinking it probably didn't work out with the girl from Dubai, because I think Cal kind of has a certain idea of how he wants his wife to be, especially if he's being provided with those examples as he's at home. Because don't forget, he's already spoke about, and as they highlight and they'll bring it up in their conversations, that, you know, Sarova is Indian and he's part Pakistani at the end of the day. So in terms of, I would say, if parents stayed together and he had that little bit of upbringing with his father and everything like that, the Pakistani rule will probably be the one that would be more predominant within the household, and that comes with its own things. So Cal, as we saw from his first initial date with Sarova, he basically said that it was a 10 for him. Didn't get much from Sarova, to be honest with you. I think she's hedging her bets at the moment. She doesn't seem to be dating anybody else at the minute, but I think she's starting to like what Cal's putting out at the moment. So Ashley and Billy date again, and you can tell that them two are definitely into each other. I'm hoping with this date that this time around I'd actually ask each other actual questions and listen to the answers that are being provided at the end of the day, because I think sometimes these people concentrate too much on being picked that they forget about the important things, and then these things kind of slip under the radar and don't come out until you've actually been picked and you're living together, and then that shit decides to explode, and then, you know, the other person will not handle it very well. Let's just put it that way. So Billy's talking about how in a relationship he likes to be the little spoon at times, but then turns in the morning to be able to become the big spoon to the person that he's sleeping with. And I was just like, okay, I thought they were going to dig a little deeper, but right now it's like pretty mundane things. They're definitely connecting. I'll give it to Ashley and Billy, they're definitely connecting, but right now for me it's just mundane at the end of the day. He talks about, after he's finished, that he's falling for Ashley day by day. This is what he's saying, but he's then saying, I don't want to jump the gun too quickly. But I thought, but you're saying you don't want to jump the gun too quickly, because I really think it's going to be her job as cabin crew that's going to put paid in terms of his decision making when it comes to whether he's going to continue with Ashley or not. But to be fair, I ain't seen Billy date nobody else. I haven't seen him date nobody else. He don't want to jump too quickly, but then he's already falling for this girl. So you know what, that's a bit of a contradiction in and of itself. So we see Kieran having a chat, and basically he has put Sophie as his number one, but he says that he's still figuring Megan out. I don't get that, because I saw him have a bit of more of a banterful conversation with Megan than he did with Sophie at the end of the day. I thought he clicked more with Megan than with Sophie. I kind of believed that with Kieran, the type of girl that he would normally go for, especially when it comes to the looks department, is probably someone like Sophie at the end of the day. So Kieran and Megan have a date. Nothing serious is spoken between them, to be fair, because I have to realize that this is just like, you know, the first day, so you know they're literally just trying to at least get the banter out. They're trying to flirt with each other, you know, sexually flirt with each other as well, to be able to see whether that's going to be something that they're able to connect on that level. His and Megan's chat, I think it was more so on a flirt level, right? And you could definitely feel that they had a definite sexual tension connection there. They definitely did, more so than what he did with Sophie. So then straight after he has the date with Megan, he then has the date with Sophie. He basically says that there's real attraction there when it comes to Sophie, but the dude did ask Sophie the same question that he did of Megan, which was how would he be able to give her butterflies. But the difference with Megan is she literally got into that conversation with him and told him what she liked. He was very much involved in that conversation with Megan as well, and he actually started that conversation off too. Whereas with Sophie, he was completely different, because he was getting a different vibe from Sophie, because all Sophie said was be passionate. I'm just like, what the fuck does be passionate mean, or passion? What does that mean? Like, break it down for a dude, you know what I mean? So he basically wanted to know, like, what is it that she would want, because he was not accepting her answer of passion at the end of the day. So she says kissing, and then everything would lead to where it's supposed to be. This girl was laying on the chair and absolutely looked like she was like going in on herself. She didn't look like she wanted to be in that conversation in any way, shape or form. So I kind of think that after hearing Megan talk about Kieran, and she knows Megan is now dating Kieran, she ain't said nothing, but you know, gals gonna chat. The gallies are gonna chat in them women's quarters. They ain't learnt the lessons from looking at the previous episodes of why you don't chat your business up in there, or especially say the names of the men that you're dating, yeah? So I don't know if that's put Sophie on a back seat, and this is why she's kind of like temping herself down. It's because Kieran is looking for the flirt and Sophie is not giving him that at all. She's not catching the vibe that Kieran is putting down. So Sophie basically talks in her VC about the fear of falling in love, and she doesn't deal with rejection well. So for me, as I said before she said it, I was like, okay, so she's self-sabotaging this situation right now, and that's why I think that the situation with him dating Megan as well is playing into her doing what it is that she's doing. She's letting all the white noise within the women's quarters get in her head, and that's the worst thing you can do on Love is Blind, like literally the worst thing that you can do. So you see that Cal has picked Sarah for a date again. So in this date, they really do get a little bit deeper, but with them two, I feel like it's still more one-sided, because Cal is giving a lot but not necessarily allowing Sarova to actually feed into the vibe that he's providing as well, or give her space to release what she wants to release too. So I'm not saying that it was a bad date between them in terms of second dates, but I think it was very much one-sided. So you see Cal, he talks about his brothers. He talks about the one brother who was in the army and got shot, and then his brother was literally on the road to addiction basically. So now his brother has made it through the other side, and now he has a wife and a family after being 2 years sober. And I'm like, that was a beautiful story. I ain't gonna lie, that was a beautiful story. But I'm like, but it doesn't tell me what I need to know about you, Cal. That's what Sarova should have been thinking. That's beautiful in terms of like the role model that he would probably see in his brother, but what does that then tell me about you? It doesn't really say anything about Cal at the end of the day. But Sarova took it as like she liked what her and Cal were building. And I'm literally sat there scratching my head like, but what are you building? Because I've not necessarily heard anything fundamental about Cal, to be honest with you, to make them to understand that they would be a match, or why is it that he is picking Sarova out of everybody? I don't understand who Cal is, to be honest. So Billy, you see, he can't stop talking about Ashley, but he says there's things to consider. So this is why I'm saying these two need to go deeper than they have done within their dates at the end of the day. So Ashley and Billy have a date. So Ashley has basically said that she's developing or has developed a deep connection with Billy. So Billy kind of gets emotional talking about his family and especially his dad. So Ashley then talks about her background, you know, conversations, give and take. that's where Cal needs to learn, give and take, you know, learn a little bit more about Sarova, do you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'll go back to this. So she talks about how she watched her parents' relationship break down, and basically when she was 16 years old, they divorced, they split up, and she ended up becoming the leader and the provider of that household at 16. And I was like, damn, seriously? Because I know she probably loves her mum and dad, but her mum should not have put her in that position, not at 16 years old. This girl was paying rent and all sorts. So then you kind of have to put that into context in terms of how did that shape her as an adult, especially when it comes to being independent and dealing with stuff that she deals with on her own. And will she be able to have the forthwith to allow somebody else in to support her when she is in need, or will she just want to plod along by herself? I'm gonna say I do like Ashley, I really do, and I do like Billy, and I do hope they get together. But as Billy says, the nervousness for him is the fact that she is cabin crew. So any alignment in that area may be an issue for him, because he says that he's dated cabin crew before, and it's very hard because of how often they are out of the country for. But I'm just kind of like, well, you've got a prime opportunity here with someone that you actually really like, that you are connecting with on a deeper level. And I'm just kind of like, before it gets any deeper, then you need to have that conversation with her, because at the end of the day, this girl could all but be falling for Billy too, as Billy is falling for her. So it's a case of, if you really, really want it, how in the hell are you going to make it work? That's the conversations they should be having, but I ain't seen those conversations yet. So Patrick talking about his bloody spleen again with Anu. Anu is completely feeling him, and I think Patrick is feeling Anu. Basically, Anu has said that her mum is very much aware of where she is, because she wants the girl to find somebody too. I find that quite funny. I don't know, because sometimes I think when it comes to Love is Blind, that these people come in with an expectation, and I think their expectations are higher than what it is that they get. And they're very, very disappointed because their expectations are in a stratosphere, and what exactly they get isn't going to meet it at all. So they kind of have to compromise on certain things, but they shouldn't necessarily compromise, especially on the fundamentals in terms of when it comes to their morals, what they're about, whether they follow any religions, stuff like that. So all of that will come into it. So Anu and Patrick have another date. So Patrick talks about how his mother is Jamaican and his dad was Nigerian, and Anu has Nigerian parents also. So they do talk a little bit about Patrick's upbringing. And this is what I'm saying, where he doesn't necessarily answer questions fully in order for you to get a view of who this person is, because Patrick will dip. He will talk about everything else that's not really in context to what has been asked. Yeah, because I don't know the slightest bit about this boy's upbringing, except for the fact that when he was younger, he did go back to Nigeria for a bit. That's about it. I don't know anything else. So they do connect over their Nigerian culture and the way they live. Patrick does see an emotional connection with Anu, but I'm going to say to you, like, if you see an emotional connection there, please tell me where you see it, because I don't see it at all between them two. I really don't. So Sarova and Cal have a date again. Sarova talks about how her parents' divorce had affected her as a child, basically. And she does get rather emotional when she talks about it. And I was like, good. Sarova's putting something serious out there. So then Cal in kind talks about his childhood and about also his parents get divorced, so they have something in common there in terms of the commonality of feelings of being children from separated parents. So as I've already said, Cal is Pakistani and English, and Sarova is Indian. And I thought, yeah, Sarova still picked an Indian boy in the pods, what she was trying to get away from. So he did ask the correct question to Sarova, because it could come up in conversation, especially when if Sarova does pick him or he picks Sarova. And he says, because I'm half Pakistani, will her parents accept him because of the fact that she's Indian? Because don't forget, even though it was just one big lovely country at first, you know, you had the British Empire who caused the division and the rule within that country, and then you ended up with Pakistan and you ended up with India, and never the twain shall meet, because they don't particularly like each other. And that carries on from older generations of the people, and it's carried on and carried through and carried through. So I'm glad that they're having these conversations now, because it's something that these two will have to essentially think about if they decide to make a go of it at the end of the day. So you see Ashley again talking about Billy and how she really likes him. But then you see Billy talking in the men's view in terms of he doesn't know how he feels in regards to the job that Ashley does. He has a lot of apprehension there. So we end up seeing Ashley and Billy going in and having a date, and I'm like, oh my God, is he going to do it? Is he going to have that discussion with her? Because she's dressed up for him and everything, and she's like all lively, telling him how she's dressed up, and his vibe is very much down. So I'm like, he's gonna have the conversation with her. I don't know if she's picking up on the vibe that he's not all there at the moment with where she is on that level, because he's about to burst her bubble royally, I think. So he goes and he decides to be honest with Ashley, and this is kind of where it ended, because he basically turned around and he says to her, look, if I've got an issue with something, then the best thing for me to do is literally just to come out and say it and be open and honest with you. And that is where that episode ended. So I'm quickly going to get into the next episode to be able to come back on screen and tell you what happened there. But if you're watching it, as I always say, please put your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking about this season of Love is Blind UK. Let me know what you're thinking about the people that you've seen thus far. Let me know if there's anything else that I may have missed along the way, because I don't mind you know, it's a two-way street. Talk to me, do you know what I mean? Anyway, my renegades and all those that are coming in, I shall be back in quick succession with the next episode. As I always say, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button, and I will see you all again soon. Peace out.